Thank you.
Yep.
Well, everyone looks very healthy. That's a good thing.
I'm going to send a text to Maureen, find out what's going on. Well, no one else is trying to call in at this point. That's good. Oh gosh. Well, she says she hasn't heard any info. Maureen doesn't read emails from what I can tell. Everything has to be texted. So I told her that there would be emails about what we were doing, but she hasn't looked. So Katie, can you text her a link? I don't know. Can you even do that?
She can join the meeting with her cell phone if she calls the number.
If she has like an iPhone, well, she can call via audio from any phone, or she can do the link if she has like a smartphone or from like an iPad or something, if she wants to join by video.
Yeah.
Steve, is your email like similar to the other town staff, like ssolbo@bridgewaterma.org?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I was going to forward a press release from the Mass Division of Ecological Restoration to Michael, but I guess I'll copy you as well. They're seeking, there's funding available for ecological restoration projects from the state for cranberry bogs and stream flow or urban stream. So just gonna forward it in case you guys, I'm sure you must get it, but I get a lot of these links through my work email.
Oh, sure. We're going to be looking for every grant opportunity we can come across at this point.
Perfect.
Any monies that we can win, we're going to try.
That's great.
Is there any grants in pending at all? Just out of curiosity.
The only one that we are actively working on for this year coming up is the MVP, which is the Municipal Vulnerability Program. And they do municipal resilience and like floodplain, a lot of improvements with drainage, stormwater, green sustainability, less resilient or less attention to fossil fuels, stuff like that. So we're in talks right now for a June deadline for that grant, deciding on which kind of way we want to go with it. We have ideas. We have a conference call tomorrow morning about that.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, any grants that you may come across that you think are appropriate or that apply, you can certainly send them to us and we will take a look, because like I said, I think it's going to be a lot of this state level money, and it's going to be very competitive. And the earlier we get a hold of these things, the more prepared we're going to be for when it comes to present these grant applications. So,
Right. I agree 100%.
but
Okay,
I mean, good.
I think we should go ahead and get going. I don't know. I told Maureen to look for the link you sent out, Nicole, last week. And also I know it's on the town webpage with the agenda post. I don't know if she knows where to look for it or not, but anyway, I don't want to wait any longer. Hopefully she can join us. All right, anybody have any questions? Or did everyone look at the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, any questions or additions or anything?
I haven't seen the agenda. I was looking through all the. Oh, hold on. Oh, yeah, I saw the agenda. It's right here. Yep, I see it.
One thing I want to add is just the Steve can talk about it, but just so everybody is aware, that's the training that he posted. Everyone saw that, I guess. What day is that?
I sent it out last night, so it's just spreading today. So we announced we're working in partnership with the Nacogdoches Greenway, Appalachian Mountain Club, Town of Bridgewater, and we're putting on a trail stewardship training program that's going to be virtual. It's next Monday, or this coming Monday, May 18th, from 3 to 4:30. It's going to be about a 45 to 50-minute presentation by Christine Viola she's with Bay Circuit Trail, which is a volunteer program within the Appalachian Mountain Club. She is the coordinator of volunteers for that trail. There is one connection that is lacking on the entire Bay Circuit Trail, or one of the few, is the Bridgewater connection to West Bridgewater and then to the remainder of the trail. So she's going to give that stewardship training that they give to all Appalachian Mountain Club members. They're trying it for the first time virtually with us. So this is kind of a new thing. We're excited. We have a lot of momentum built up. And what we're going to try to do is use a model that they use with stewardship, basically worksheets, trail conditions. It's basically just an overall organization of a volunteer unit, and then trying to incorporate that into Bridgewater and then spread them out amongst the conservation lands that we operate. So we're hoping that plenty of people show up and learn so that they can transfer that knowledge when they're out in the field. And, we're still looking to get back to work out there, hopefully in the next 30 days. Obviously, we're going to take all suggestions and advisories that are made at the state and local level for health and social distancing and everything else. But we're going to ensure that we try to get back to work as safely and quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Maureen.
Hi.
Glad you made it.
I've
All
been
right,
sitting
this is
here.
the first time we've had everybody together. That's great. All right, so Katie, do you want to leave us now? Is this your chance to escape?
Yeah, if you guys are all set, Maureen, do you want to be a host as well? Does anyone else want those responsibilities, or?
It's just being the host. Is that just, you just send a link to is there a special link for the host, and then it's just, they can let people in and they manage
It
it?
can't be a link. We have to wait till we start the meeting and then I can name it. So you have to have a Zoom license to set up the meeting as a host. So to name someone who has a host that doesn't have a Zoom license on our account, we have to name them after the meeting starts. So that's the only thing, but then you will be able to admit, mute, unmute. If like members of the public were joining, you would have to monitor like who raises their hand to ask a question. It doesn't look like anyone has, so it's not a problem, but that sort of stuff.
Oh, so you don't have to have an account then for you to transfer us?
Nope, I can transfer it to anybody who's in the meeting.
Okay, all right. Oh, well,
As long as you are in the meeting and have access to the meeting, you can take on those responsibilities.
Okay, all right. I think we're probably good.
Who do you want me to leave it with?
Well, so right now, Steve and I are both co-hosts.
Yep. So I can make it either of you. The only thing is that whoever's the host, when they leave the meeting will end for everybody. So if Steve was going to leave early, it probably wouldn't be him. That's kind of the only advantage to having it be a committee member, because you guys are going to stay through the whole thing.
Okay.
that's
And
the
it could be me, but we can also have another co-host. So this
Yep.
is, okay. My concern is I have sometimes on some of these calls, I have an unstable connection and I kind of get frozen out. So I want to make sure that someone else can pick up if I'm missing an action for a minute or two. All right. So Kevin, you want to do it?
Oh, to be the host for this meeting?
Yeah.
Uh,
Along with
yeah,
me,
sure.
we'll both be.
I can try it.
Okay. All right. Go for it, Maureen.
I'm going to name you as a host. So it's
that'll
still
work.
Steve and Eileen as a co-host. So they'll also be able to admit people just in case you're speaking. They'll be able to see what's going on the side. But you should be all set from there.
Okay, but Maureen has to stay on till the bitter end.
Yes,
Right.
she now has to stay on till the bitter end or transfer to somebody else if she has to leave.
Thank you for that commitment, Maureen.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen.
Maureen and Nicole, have you two met before?
No.
No, I don't believe so.
There you go.
Yep, nice to meet you virtually.
Okay, the other, do we have March meeting minutes, Kevin? You were going to write them up and send them out. We haven't
Yes.
seen any, but do you have anything?
Yeah, I don't think I sent it out.
No.
And I apologize for that.
Thank
but
you, Katie. Bye.
Thanks.
Michael's planning to join you guys. He's just going to be a little late. He's on another video call, so he's going to pop in when he can take a break from that call.
Okay, great. Okay.
Thank you, Katie.
Bye. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so so from the minutes from the last time, I kind of need a little bit of help because I want to make sure everything is accurate, and once I send it out, it'll be on the record, of course, and all that good stuff. So from the last meeting, which was on, was it March?
11th, I think.
Yeah, like around there, the mid-March, I think.
Last day town hall was open.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes, I remember that. Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So March 11th. I'll write that down. Make sure the date is correct. We don't need to do the time or anything, do we?
No, so I don't think this will be a good use of our time, Kevin. If you don't have anything written up for us to look at, I don't think we can go through them just orally like this. What I suggest is,
I still have some things. It's not like I don't have anything, but.
right, but we need something written to review.
Yeah. So we'll
if you
give
could,
you the
because
chair.
what I thought you were going to do after the meeting was send a draft so that Maureen and I could look at it, and then we could get something finalized. But I don't think for you to send the first draft to be final would be a good idea. I think we need to look at it, especially now when so much time has passed.
Okay, it's up to you. Yeah, that's fine.
So can you get that sent out to us no later than tomorrow?
Well, I wanted to talk about it just to make sure that I'm sending out the right draft, but I'll just send it out, and then if anyone has any issues, they can just bounce it back, and then we'll.
Yeah, I think that's probably the better approach.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Yeah, and I'm sure there will be questions because I haven't done this before for a town. Well, no, yes, I did. I did January. That's right, I did January, but that was okay. That was my first go, so this will be your first go, and we'll see how it works.
Yeah,
And
Kevin,
that brings me to the next item on the agenda. We do need a clerk. Maureen, I know you declined last time. Do you feel any differently this time? Would you be willing to be clerk?
I would be the worst person to do that. I'd rather not.
Nicole, would you be willing to do it?
Which would be taking the minutes for our meetings?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. I can try to do that.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. That's a relief. Okay. So Michael isn't here yet. Steve has just given us an update on the training session that's happening by Zoom, of course, about actual trail maintenance. And that went out to everybody, so we don't need to go over that again for your sake, Maureen. I'm sure you saw that.
Yeah, I've read about it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Steve, is there anything else you want to tell us about?
Nope, I'm just here to spectate and help you guys with anything you might need public administration wise. So
Okay.
they want to bit just to.
Do you know what the status is of the hiring of the park steward? Or is that a
That's
question?
not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
No,
That's what I figured.
it's probably going to become mine, honestly.
Mm.
We are all going to be asked to do more around
So
town.
yeah, this is anticipating financial constraints, I guess, right?
It was put out, it was applied for, they picked someone, they extended the offer, and the offer was turned down.
Oh,
So we were actually in the process of putting it back out as this all happened. So needless to say, I don't know what the position would have cost, but it's pretty much assumed. At this point, I think it's going to be absorbed into the CED department, Community and Economic Development, probably under my watch,
okay.
which is fine. It's going to be important. So
They probably didn't offer enough money for the person that extended the offer, and they needed.
I have no idea. All I can do is if they ask me to do more on the parks and stuff, then I will do more.
All
I've been in
right, well,
the spot before.
that's really disappointing, of course. I've been doing a lot of reading about all these reports on open space and park recreation, et cetera, which go back years, of course, and the big issue always is that the volunteers can't do it. They haven't had enough support. But this certainly isn't a surprise. I mean, that was kind of my expectation that I imagine most towns are going to have a hiring freeze and
Yeah, I mean, July.
There aren't layoffs, so.
Yeah, I mean, July 1st is going to be a interesting, as the fiscal year switches to next year. It'll be interesting. I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen. So every municipality, it sounds like, is facing a very similar situation. So we are all in this together.
The whole world in this together.
Yeah. This one's not discriminating.
Yeah.
This one's not discriminating. So, but we'll get through. We'll get through.
Okay. We'll wait for Michael to join us for the town manager's update. Statement of purpose. We talked about this at our March meeting when Kevin, Nicole, and I attended. And Kevin, you were going to send out a redraft because you had wanted to change a couple of things, and you didn't. And so we didn't discuss it at the last meeting in March because I think you were going to send something out again, but you haven't. So my recommendation at this point is that we just retain the open space committee description that we discussed at our January meeting as it is without any changes.
As is written.
I'm sorry, Ken, I couldn't hear you, Kevin.
As it's written.
As it exists, yeah.
Right. I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, I think it was great. I just wanted to condense it, but I think the way it stands is good.
The only thing I'm remembering was that there was one simple addition of a word or two that we wanted to add regarding resilience or sustainability.
Oh, that's funny, because I do have the draft, and the only thing I had added was in item 1, it's health serve Bridgewater that I had written in semi-rural, but I don't remember I didn't note anything else.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to take a look at it, if you remember that, and you could circulate it. And
Okay, yeah, I agree. So maybe it's just kind of emphasizing that rural character because we did have that conversation, and then I think we just wanted to focus on resilience, just to kind of also make sure we have this tie to the MVP program, and just thinking about the future, viability of our open space and how we can activate it to, help the town in its resilience efforts.
Did we say was that in the context of climate change by any chance? I don't remember that, but it seems like it might have been.
I think it usually, yeah. I mean, usually people think of it in that manner for the most part.
So, it could be that we would add a Roman numeral 7 to maintain, to address, to minimize climate change and preserve, what was the word you were using? By sustainability, is that what you said?
Well, I said resilience, but
resiliency,
we could focus on, sustainability too is just another buzzword that has to, it's a little, So the good thing about sustainability is a lot of times it references not only like environmental, but also like social and economic. There's kind of like three components of something that's sustainable. So that's another thing we need to think about too, because we're having those conversations about, equal, like accessibility and having the open space be available to everyone as much as possible, being accessible in terms of for all modes or handicap accessibility and things like that. I can take. I don't think it was major changes. So if you'd like, I can kind of just edit and add in those suggestions. Did we
Lost that.
I think her connection was unstable.
Mm-hmm. And I just put a note on the side there for you guys. So if you're going to actually do a vote, the town has been practicing roll call voting to ensure that all heard digitally, audio on the recording, so that there's no question as far as how the vote is going.
Okay.
Sorry, I just got cut off. What did you just say about that, Steve? About how addressing audio?
I put up the note there to the side just saying that if you do get to a point where you're going to have any type of vote, the town has been practicing roll call voting during these virtual meetings to ensure that there's no argument about how one way a committee voted. So each person needs to have their name called and then asked how they're voting, yay or nay, or approve or disapprove. So just so you guys know, it's just an FYI.
All right. So anyway, I missed whatever the rest of that discussion was about climate change, whatever we wanted to add. Was there anything else said about that?
I think I was just saying that I could take a stab at just adding a few of those terms that we wanted to add in. I guess if we all agree that the statement of purpose can hold as it exists until we amend it to add a few of those additional words, which had to do with resilience and sustainability and maybe that rural character. So it's probably just a few tweaks to a few sentences that we might want to make that I could take a crack at and then distribute it to all for verification, and then we can maybe adopt it at the next meeting.
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Anybody else have any thoughts? Does that sound all right? Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I don't think we need a vote on that. So. All right, thank you, Nicole. All right, so then I just put a general item here on how to proceed during COVID. Well, we are, I guess. This is it. I guess one question that comes to my mind is site visits. Sounds like you've been doing those pretty well unimpeded. Steve, have you been doing that in your work, Nicole?
I mean, if you want some, I've just been following the precautions, social distancing, face mask, just being cautious, trying to set up as much as I possibly can as far as if I'm going to be on a resident's properties, alerting them in advance with a phone call saying no need to come outside. As much as you can do before you actually get on site, it's common sense, really. I mean, and eventually, I think here in a couple of weeks, they're going to kind of really relax the standards a little bit. So it might even behoove you to be more cautious.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, site visits in general, residents have been really good. While I've been out, people are pretty patient. And, when you guys are dealing with open space, it's actually going to be one of the activities. You might see more people out there in those areas now.
Mhm.
That's what
Yeah.
I've been seeing. You see a ton of people walking on the roadways, but you don't see many in the trails and whatnot because they simply aren't there right now.
Right.
Right.
I see it. I see it so much. Everyone's walking around and getting into nature, and I think it's a great thing to see.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, these boards and committees, conservation, open space, these are going to be the low-cost boards that can do so much moving forward through this pandemic. So they're going to be important.
And
That's
there's-
an interesting perspective.
The other thing that this has done is has actually brought light to a lot of the open space in the town that no one used to visit. I mean, Carver's
Yeah.
Pond, I used to take the boys there and we would go and we would be
Crazy
the
down
only
there.
ones. But now every single one of those, 7 parking spots or whatever are full and people are parking out on the road. When I go down off Auburn, the Wildlands Trust there, what's it called? Great River Preserve.
Yeah,
That's packed all the time.
really.
Luckily, there's just acres upon acres that people can go and, definitely socially distance themselves. But I think that I've seen on the different Facebook pages, people getting ideas for places to go for hikes, which is, I guess one of the positives of this whole pandemic is that people have had to stay close to home, but they want to get outside and enjoy nature. And they're finally actually seeing, these spaces in the town, which is great. And maybe we can kind of use that to further that opportunity. I know I was planning to take a bike ride all the way to the end of Auburn because I was trying to figure out how to get into that North Fork of the Taunton River. I know that there's like an access easement, but I was afraid to kind of be trancing on people's property. So I was really going to get the map and try to figure it out. But I think there's just a lot of space that are, that are part of our open space network. And some of them are not really accessible or well known,
Right.
which we could, continue to look at on our map, like we were talking about, and try to kind of take some site visits when it's safe to do so that we can see if we can, find them all and see them all with our own eyes. Because I've seen all the popular ones, but I think there's a few hidden gems that we might not all know about.
I'm thinking with that perspective, I mean, it sounds like we ought to schedule something. And is there any particular one that anybody has in mind? I mean, I know Carver Pond is pretty well known. Has everybody seen Ironworks?
I have.
Yeah, I have too. Maureen, I know you have Maureen from NRTB. Kevin, have you seen that one?
I don't think I've ever been to Ironworks, actually.
It's the one right in downtown, like
Off a High
Off of High
Street
Street.
in that dip. There's a social club there. What's it called?
Oh, is that like where the biker gangs hang out?
49. Lincoln.
The
Yeah.
club and the
Lincoln.
49 club. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what. Yeah, the biker gangs. So they all hang out there, and they have their pub and stuff. And
It's
Yeah.
it's really cool down there.
I've been there. Yes, for correction. Yes,
you have been there.
I've been there. Yeah, it's
I-
beautiful. Absolutely.
I was there, but it's been well over 10 years. So, well, we can decide about that at the end. I mean, it may depend on what if we come to any resolution about what we want to work on, that we make that part of our site plan determination. But it does seem like it's a good idea to keep seeing some of these places. So I guess we'll continue. Does this time continue to work for everybody? We just keep meeting like this.
I think there's so much pent up demand. It's such a we gotta launch like a slingshot, for all the support that we're gonna get or the interest. Really, I think it's gonna be great.
So a question I have is, would anybody be willing to have phone calls more than once a month, just for a couple of months over the summer, just because we've gotten such a slow start? We missed February meeting. I think that was because Michael was out of town. We missed April because the town phone system wasn't up yet. What do you think? Is anybody willing to like maybe meet in 2 weeks again, or? And I'm not even suggesting it. I'm kind of trying to get a sense of how much time people have to devote to this committee and what you're all willing to do, and how it is a time to kind of strike while the iron's hot, I guess, and it is summer. So we want to get out and see what we can. On the other hand, I know everybody's still managing to keep busy, and
I'd be good. I'm fine with that if we can keep it to an hour or less meeting. Just I can definitely carve that amount of time off every other week.
okay.
But obviously, what everyone else
We can
thinks.
see how it works. But I know my experience is that like the last couple of days, I've just worked really hard on this. I've read a whole bunch of stuff, and that happens because the meeting was scheduled. I mean, my entire life was meetings, and that's how things get done. It's like when people are accountable to a meeting, then they do what they're supposed to do, and otherwise things just get shoved to the back burner. And so then sometimes it makes it kind of hard to do more than just report at a meeting and not actually be able to move forward, because you haven't gotten a chance to see stuff ahead of time. So, all right, well, if unless somebody has an objection, how about 2 weeks from today is what? The 27th of May? I tell you what, that seems really quick. Why don't we say June 3rd?
Eileen, when you say make phone calls, what do you mean by that? Like making phone calls?
I mean just Zoom calls. Zoom calls. I mean having another Zoom call is what I meant.
You mean a Zoom meeting?
A Zoom meeting.
Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry.
okay.
Yeah, I wasn't very clear about that. So yeah, having another, like our monthly meeting, instead of being, the 4 weeks from now, we just schedule a June 3rd meeting.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And that, it may be just that we end up just getting in one extra over the course of the nice weather and try to make up the April and February ones that we missed. Okay, so June 3rd is good?
Sure.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And we'll do a site visit. We can decide that later, and we'll do the call at 4. So, all right, great, that's good. All right, so one of the things we discussed at our last meeting, and Maureen had volunteered to do, and I know she sent me an email about whether it was worth trying to contact Charlie Simons. That was where we had left it, that this was going to be just kind of outreach to them to find out if we could attend one of their meetings. Uh-oh, I'm losing my internet connection, it says again. All right, sorry if I disappear here, but to find out what we are doing and what they're doing, and how we can just coordinate if coordination is needed. Right after that, because the town shut down, I think when I talked with you, Maureen, we decided that there was probably no point in talking to Charlie at that point, that they, I imagine, we're just up to their necks trying to figure out what's going to happen with the summer season and sports and all that.
Yeah.
I assume everything's canceled. Is that the case, do you know? Or?
As far as I know, most things are canceled. I talked to Gina.
Gina Gosconi.
Thank you, Gasconi.
Yeah.
Excuse me. They had a meeting yesterday, and she was supposed to get back to me today. But they have a lot to discuss regarding the golf course. Just opened up yesterday, maybe. So Charlie was really busy getting that going. So I know that was happening. Then of course, everybody's balancing soccer season. I think the soccer season's gone. and they're, whether baseball season, softball season's gone, I don't know. But I'm sure they had a ton of things to talk about, whether they got into, whether our connection or not, I'm not sure. She was supposed to get back to me. And unfortunately, I had a very busy day, so I didn't call her either. But we will get a hold of her. I did talk to her at length about it. She thought it was a great connection, our committee, their committee, and she could see the sense of that. And so I'm hoping that we can, as things calm down and activities can pick up, that we'll be able to make some sort of connection. And even if it's another Zoom meeting,
Yeah.
but maybe we'll actually see people face to face.
Yeah.
Something.
Okay, that's great.
Mask to mask.
What was the last thing?
Maybe mask to mask.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, I think we're going to be in masks for a long time.
Yeah.
We're going to be on Zoom public meeting wise for a long time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'll be it, really.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Even, we're not planning on meeting in person with the Conservation Commission for the foreseeable future, we've been told.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Okay, thanks a lot, Maureen. So you'll just continue to pursue that. You can just keep up the lines of communication open, and then if it looks like we have an opportunity to meet with them as a Zoom group sometime, just to talk about our mutual interests, that's great.
Sure. Yep. I will.
Okay, great. All right.
I'm just
The
wondering.
other, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, just really quick. I was just wondering, like, would we be able to have a Zoom meeting, like, as one Zoom meeting with the open space and the rec department, just everything in just one, unified call, as opposed to, I'm going to reach out to them later and then report back.
Oh, no, that's what we're talking about. Yes.
Oh, okay. Just have one
Yep.
call.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because we would have to post that. We have to go through all the same
Public hearing,
protocols. Yes, that would have to be
because you'd be
posted.
bringing two quorums together.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, we're all doing all of our meetings interdisciplinary wise. The town has licenses to hold up to 300 people in these rooms for up to 3 hours. So
Oh, no. Wow. Okay.
that's why Katie was explaining before the meeting, it's important to have the meeting go on our license, because if you have the free license, it's only a 40-minute meeting and the
Right.
numbers are limited. So this way we can go as long as we need and record everything, and it's just to keep everything on record.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good investment.
All right. Okay, the next item I had on the agenda was looking at the open space and rec plan, and where the open space committee is designated as a responsible party. And I did do that. There's really nothing to report. They're just, there's a whole number of places where we're listed as the responsible party. But I did it as part of what I was just saying. I've done a lot of reading the last few days, and I actually have a document that I want to try to upload. So I go to share screen, right?
Yes.
And that's it. I think I got it. There it is.
Yep.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know about all of you, but I've been really confused about all these different studies and reports that we've talked about from time to time. I know we've had some of them listed in the minutes and listed in the agenda. And when I actually went and started reading through some of them, it made a lot more sense. They're sequential, and so much of it is just a rehash over and over again of so many of the same issues and questions, but they're sort of a stepping stone. And so this is what I just put together for, just because in my own head, I thought, I don't know where to start with all of this work that's been done before us. We're a new committee. We don't have any projects ongoing that we can just delve into. We have to pick something out of all of this work that's been done in the past. So I just put this together because we started with this, where there's the recreational needs assessment, and that's a really good overview. And then there's the next item is the open space and recreation plan update, which is the next step, because that recreational needs assessment was an element of the open space and recreation plan. It was formed to inform the open space and recreation plan update. And then something else that I found, this was on the town website, and it's something that was done by an intern. I hadn't seen, we've been using the term Parklands assessment report before, but that was actually something different. This Parklands assessment is something done by an intern. His name was Anthony Hebert, and it was completed in 2017.
Mhm.
And the stated purpose is that I've written down there is from the document. It was to provide a strategy to implement the open space and rec plan. It specifically just refers to the 6 community parklands, so it doesn't cover other open space or recreation lands. It's just these parklands.
I remember the intern that did it.
Oh, dude. Okay, great.
Yeah, he came into the office and everything, and it was a seasonal thing, but he did it. I think he did a good job too.
Yeah, and I thought it was a good job, and actually, I wanted to ask Michael about it. Whether he thought it was a good job too, because he makes some really good recommendations. I think it makes things a little more concrete. Like I know, let's see, for Wyman Meadows, for example, he recommends that, or he at least opens up as a possibility that maybe that's not something that really should be considered a parkland anymore, that it doesn't have very good access. The town has paved the gravel road that used to go up to the water tanks because it's got joint jurisdiction of the water department. That perhaps that's something that should be considered conservation land, but not parkland. So there's some good next steps, I think, and I think that may be a good document for us to look at as we think about what we really want to do. And then the last one is the second to last, the municipal vulnerability plan. I looked through that quickly. That didn't have a lot of real specific items that would involve us. The one that I did see, and there may be others that I just didn't miss, was the agricultural land preservation initiatives are needed to address areas vulnerable to climate change. So, and then finally is the Master Plan 2020, which is pending. And Nicole, I know you're involved in that process. So, I assume that that's just a culmination of all this other stuff that's gone on. And of course, you had an additional public input process, so maybe something different has come out of that. Carlton Hunt sent me the report. He said was distributed at the master plan meeting on, I guess, Monday. Did you see that, Nicole?
Yeah, I was unable to attend on Monday, so I did not see what was distributed.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, it sort of summarizes the goals and the top 3 goals and strategies, or it states the goal, and then it has the comments that people gave, and they give a tally of responses and what people. But all these things. There's nothing new in any of this. It's you can go back. It's everything. It's just it's all an iterative process, and I have to say, there's been an amazing amount of public input. It's just every one of these steps, with the exception of that intern's report, has involved public meetings and surveys, and even the intern's report, he did, he talked with a lot of people. He did not do it on his own. So it seems to me like there's a lot of issues that just keep reappearing in every one of these. And so we just need to focus on something.
Yeah.
And I agree 100%.
I think what we need to do is, I know I benefited greatly from reading this stuff, because I just felt before like, oh my God, where to start? If some of you could take a little bit of time and go through any one of these reports, I think any one of them is good reading to just give you some background and make it easier to kind of zero in. And once we get the master plan update that that might help us zero in just a little further.
I can fill you guys in on the MVP where we stand now. So that,
This is on the municipal vulnerability plans.
yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
So that the portion of the plan that's been approved so far is a planning portion. So now we've moved on to the action grants portion of the plan. So
Okay.
there is a document that lists all of Bridgewater's priorities. I don't know if it's that exact document, but there is a document that refers to all of the priority areas that Bridgewater can attain in certain areas, and like preservation and open space acquisition is included in there. Albeit this year is every year for each round of grants. So this year they're really focusing on the action side of things, so the actual work. So we're going to have discussions again tomorrow morning about this. But if you look into generally what the municipal vulnerability plan is and what the grant is, and you have ideas of where certain parcels or certain projects in Bridgewater might fit under certain, like you said, project number 14 here as the example, please let us know, because we're like literally meeting tomorrow morning with Green International to discuss moving forward on some projects. So.
Okay. All right. No. Yeah, and actually,
That's great
anybody
news,
else,
Steve. I love that.
if anyone else knows about any other reports that I haven't listed, there may be other things that I haven't unearthed. Or if Steve, if this document that I've listed here doesn't include the latest steps that you're describing on the MVP, please feel free to update this. And what I'll do after the meeting is just circulate this so you all have it. And then if anyone wants to add to it, please do, and then just keep everybody else in the loop. Because I think it'd be helpful just to have this sort of background of everything that's been done, and maybe a common vocabulary of what reports we're talking about as we move forward. So,
Like a list of acronyms.
I'm sorry, Steve, I couldn't hear you.
Like a list of acronyms.
Right, yes, yeah, right.
Steve, just a quick question.
The other thing, let's see, all right, and then the next item on the agenda is this 2016 Parklands Assessment Report, steps to review the protected status of recreation and other open space parcels. I mean, this agenda was drafted 3 months ago after when we were going to meet not 3 months ago, in April. So this is just kind of I brought the agenda forward. I probably would have redone it if I had read all these documents before I sent the agenda out. Because I don't really have anything to say about that. I don't know if anybody else does. It just, the summary that I've put together here sort of just tells us what each one of those reports does. And then the status of protection is something that Michael had mentioned at one of our early meetings, that it would be a good idea to know how protected some of our lands, conservation lands are, whether they're well protected or whether they're vulnerable to some other use at some point. And I think it's pretty clear from that assessment report, and we just need to, that may help us decide on something we wanna look at. The other thing that I've thought about a little bit is how do we proceed in this whole area? And I kind of see it as sort of two different things we can do, or two different general areas. One is to address all the things that have been talked about for the parklands, signs, and it's particularly useful to know now that we're not going to have the parklands coordinator, because some of that work may have been something that they would have done. And Steve, I know that you aren't going to be able to do everything that this new person was going to do, plus what you already are doing. So this may fall more now to us to undertake some of those things that the Parklands steward would have done, which I would have seen like sort of working with those parklands for uniform signage and trails and so, but that I see as all existing land. And then the other area that I think about is just acquisitions, identification and acquisitions of new lands. because we know we have lots of stuff that's been neglected and inaccessible and needs a lot of work. But we also don't want to lose track of the fact that there's probably valuable properties that if we don't act soon, they'll be lost. So we don't want to get too bogged down in, you know, putting signs up on all the 6 parklands over the next year and then find out that we've missed an opportunity to protect something that we need to act on. So that's just kind of in my own head how I've sort of configured the two areas of emphasis that I see us as kind of picking, and I hope we can do projects in both. Does anybody have any thoughts about that? I've been talking kind of a long time.
I think that makes sense, Eileen, because I think that the first item really regarding the kind of the stewardship goals are really a lot of the recommendations that are coming from those past reports. And then maybe in a more forward-thinking way, the acquisitions focus is just because of what I've seen and heard from the public as part of those master plan committee meetings. It does seem that the residents of Bridgewater, or at least those that have been participating in the public process, really have, really value some of the more rural open space character of the town. And some of that they perceive as part of the open space is actually private open space as well. And, but some of those properties may potentially, be vulnerable to development. So I think that could be part of, part of that idea of acquisition, as well as just finding the appropriate access to the open space. The map that is in the open space plan, the 2017 plan, is really good because it does mark all of the town-owned lands and trails, I guess, as well as some of those private, I guess large rural or farms that are, kind of critical to the rural character of the town. So I think that, all is kind of, I agree with those two focus areas. We don't want to spread ourselves so thin, but I think we could definitely prioritize and keep focused in both of those areas.
Okay. Anyone else? Kevin, Maureen?
Well, I just have a question for Steve really quick. As Steve, concerning that you said tomorrow morning you're meeting with like an action plan that goes down, is that going to be a concrete list that's already set? And that's my first question. And then number 2 is, can you distribute that so people can see what those actions list, and we can see what it related to?
Yeah, so the actions list, we have to go directly off of what we planned for ourselves. So that document is available to the public. Now that document, it outlines, like when I talk, and I think Nicole had talked about this earlier, when you talk about resiliency and sustainability, we also get into topics like, a generator for the senior center and stuff like that. So this is a broad reaching grant that goes much further than just open space and recreation. Now they want you to focus on nature-based solutions and green solutions because that's arguably the most sustainable and resilient at this point. So there are some environmental and conservation and recreation and open space opportunities in there. Now they have to be very specific. So we came up with a list during our planning grant that we were awarded, and now it's time to apply for those action grants, which are actually to get some matching monies on work that is outlined in there, like drainage, infrastructure, offsite drainage to protect. Say we identify a particular parcel that has become inundated with street runoff, and we need to do a project in order to run a detention pond offsite to protect that one parcel, to maintain the resiliency of a certain area based on the weather for 5 years. So it's an elaborate process, but there are item by item parcel or pieces of the planning grant as it's laid out in whole that you can look into and be like, there is that potential of that project over there. But each year, like COVID-19 has obviously shaped what programs and grants they're going to fund this year and which packages they're going to fund this year. So it's a social piece. Grants are very complicated. they can be very they're very competitive. So
Right.
I'll try to find the most current copy of the planning grant so that you can take a look at like which items we've basically told the state we're going to act on, and then you can look at the action items and see if there's any that you can think of.
Right. Because I'm wondering too, I mean, I think that list would also be very helpful for us to see which areas would potentially overlap with some of the open space and recreational areas that also have, just their own ongoing either maintenance issues or whatever it is. Because I mean, that could really be an area of focus if we say, okay, all these past studies have said that this is degraded, this needs maintenance, this needs signage, like whatever that is, it needs to be accessed. But then it also overlaps with an area of potential flooding. Maybe that's a way that we can start to prioritize some of our focus, because there's the opportunity to get the MVP grants for the construction, and maybe we can look at some other sources, as you mentioned, because I think one thing that will come out of all of this is a lot of grant opportunities. So we might want to see what we can jump on and, look for ways to get multiple grants to really focus in on an area rather than just like trying to sprinkle ourselves so thin, especially as we try to launch.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah.
Yeah, and lastly, I mean, that last piece that Nicole had mentioned is anything we can add to a package to add values to what we're applying for makes the package stronger. So you have to prove that two things, either that your project is so well planned out and this is the action steps and this is the amount of money we're going to do, and then the state steps in and says, great plan, let's do it. And then you have the other side of the thing, either you do it yourself and show that you've done one, and then they come through and they start following up with more money. So
it builds on itself.
It's
Right.
about good planning and good action. So if we can start identifying projects now as this committee launches and shows a good, protocol as far as, pinpointing these projects and gets that overlap, it could be a model for other communities to use.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be a good template for us.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question that has nothing to do with this? Has to do with the Zoom meeting. I have something up the top of my page that says Frank Yetman.
Oh, that's my husband.
Oh, okay. All right. No problem.
Is that, is that showing up on your screen?
Yeah. I didn't know if someone's waiting to get in, but
No, huh? But no, that's funny because I changed my name to mine. So I don't know why he's showing up.
that's okay. I just want to make sure nobody's waiting to try to get in. We had
No.
I was waiting to get in, and I didn't want somebody waiting to get in on the meeting. That's all. Sorry. Okay. That's all.
Eileen, for this shared, I love, this is a great, condensed, I just think it's great for all, the, all the different reports and what have you, and just the whole timeline. Could you send that out just for
Oh, yeah, I definitely will. Yep, I will.
Thank you.
Yes. Steve, it sounds, you're pretty familiar with the MVP plan, it sounds like. I know when I looked through it, I specifically listed this project 14 because it was one of the few where I could really see something direct to connection to us. There are lots of more general connections that,
Sure.
as Nicole was just saying, but when you're looking at that plan, if you see things that you think, us taking action might help your grant process through the MVP, or, something that we ought to at least examine and express some view about or something, it would be really helpful because you're going to be more familiar with that as part of that process. I went to one of those initial planning meetings, but I haven't looked at anything or been involved in anything since for the MVP. So it would be helpful if you could keep us informed, and if you see the links, let us know.
Sure.
So we can
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
of course. And, I think the main reason why you saw that project was in the planning grant portion is you go through your entire town and you list all the problems and you say where this grant might apply. And then each year what happens is the grant funder kind of picks which areas of emphasis they're going to focus in on each year. So it kind of changes from year to year depending on, I'm not going to call it what's hot and what's not, but some years it seems like that, the groundbreaking technology, rain gardens, natural solutions. So that's where these grants actually force new technology, because sometimes these towns start thinking outside the box. And, so that's why when you list certain projects, it's great. Yes, it's awesome. But certain years, they really focus on certain areas.
Mm. Okay. All right. That's good to know. I can't think of anything else. The other, let's see, there was one. It looks like Michael's not going to make it. I'm trying to think if there was anything we specifically wanted to hear from him. You've told us about the Parklands steward, which was the most important thing.
I have to work 60 hours a week. I'm going to make sure that position's filled.
Yeah.
Steve, is that a definite that they're not going to do the steward?
I wouldn't expect it. We're so close to the end of the fiscal year. It wasn't filled. And then to try to do whatever level of funding they're going to do for 2021, I'm sure we'll all know in the next couple months. It's not feasible. I mean, there's going to be people that have been there for a while that are probably going to see impacts hourly, or who knows. So I don't know how they could justify bringing on a new position that ultimately can be filled by staff that's currently in-house.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
It'll spread me more thin, but I'm just blessed to be employed and paid during this time, so I'll take it and I'll work as much as they want me to.
Well, you're salaried, right?
It doesn't matter. I'm just working. I got to pay the bills.
Well, I mean, hourly, and if you're working 60 hours a week, it's
it doesn't matter. I get the same rate. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's not my business, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's what it is.
Yeah, because I imagine the town's revenue streams are,
town,
narrowed.
states, nation, everyone.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question for you, Nicole. Or actually, Steve, you might be able to answer this too. I mean, the 2 areas we talked about, the new acquisitions, do we have a map that we would be able to use to help identify where some of those places might be? I mean, I know they're going to be identified in some of these reports to some degree, but looking at what connects to what else, et cetera, do we have anything in any of these other reports that fits that need?
That is a good question. I don't know. I will have to write that down and look at the appendices and see if I see them. Otherwise, I could speak to Elijah. There's also the Oliver tool online. That's very good. I do a lot of my mapping for a lot of things on there.
I got on Oliver and I was just lost. I just don't have the technical background. I couldn't find anything on there.
It's really tough.
I would need a tutorial. Maybe you could give us one on one of these calls sometime.
I probably could actually, yeah. With the share screen capability, you can actually do that.
I do use that. I do use Oliver as well. That is a good point, because we can look at the resource, obviously all the water resources, and then a lot of the I guess, designated open space parcels probably. But I'm wondering if there's some of those, I don't know exactly the right terminology, but there's the different categorization of different farmland, like chapter something, you know what I mean? So I think that I think you can query it to look at some of those layers too.
Yeah,
and that map that's in that VHB open space from 2017 is pretty good too, because as I mentioned, I'm pretty sure it does show certain parcels that are privately owned as well. that are fall under that category of like the farm, some chapter something farmland.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. It's designated as.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to come up with some sort of a plan for our next meeting. Steve, would you be able to give us a quick tutorial on
Yeah.
Oliver? Or
Yeah.
maybe it's not even maybe it's just pulling up that map that that's available there and just kind of.
I mean, I could show you. Yeah, I mean, I could show you. There's hundreds of layers available on Oliver.
Yeah, that's part of the problem to the uninitiated, though. Kevin and Maureen, this is the state GIS. What does Oliver stand for?
No.
Is that an acronym for
It's
something?
an acronym. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I don't know what it is, but it's the state GIS maps and.
But it's a great resource. I don't know. I'll have to research the layers, but if the layers are there, the other thing that might be helpful, I wonder if we have those shape files from the VHB report, because Elijah Romulus, the assistant town planner, is trained in GIS. So I wonder if he has the ability. Right now, I know we have a map printing machine in town hall. When we'll be back to town hall, I don't know. But I can check in with Elijah and see if I can get open space. And that would be from a private and publicly owned standpoint. But if he can reference somehow that shade files from that VHB report, he's our mapping guy. So
The entire all the offices in the Academy building are closed off, right? No one can just go in, like a few offices, or the whole thing shut down, correct?
it's closed to the public.
But not employees.
Some staff are still there on a daily basis because they have to be. Basically, your daily permitters, your building inspectors, plumbing inspectors, electrical inspectors, Board of Health agent, and then the administrative staff. So everyone else is pretty much home.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's a lot, actually. That's actually a lot, I think. Yeah. Okay.
All right, that'd be great, Steve.
Yep.
And Nicole, if you have any ideas about a map, maps that might be useful or anything for either the next meeting or some subsequent meeting, that would be great if you could find something too. Yeah, and you're muted, Nicole.
I could send because that was the map that we sent to Jennifer, and I believe she knew the VHB map. She felt like the town only had it as a PDF.
Right.
Okay.
But to be honest, now that you're mentioning the Oliver, I wonder if they kind of created it using, for the most part, the shape files from the GIS database the town has and/or state GIS anyway. That, in other words, we could kind of recreate it.
I would think so.
Possible. Yeah. So I think that
it's
we
public
could move that
record,
way.
right?
Yep. It's a great map. The only problem with the map and the report is there's like a big legend that takes up a lot of it, like covers some of the town, even though it's nothing super important. It definitely covers a part of it.
You can really customize those Oliver maps though too.
Okay.
I've gotten pretty creative with them because I do a lot of my images on my environmental planner reports for my commissioners using Oliver maps, and they're very clear. I can take the legend right off and just explain it if I need be.
Okay, that'd be great. Steve and Nicole, if you could both just, do some work on maps for the upcoming meetings. I think we're definitely going to need that more and more as we go forward, I think. And then the other thing, there was an email that Carlton Hunt sent out on March 9th to all of us, with the exception of Maureen, who I think he didn't know was on the commission at that point. In fact, she wasn't. I think it was March 11th when he went on, Maureen. So anyway, he's talking about we happen to be walking that day at the Murray Needs Farm, and he's saying that he came up with a thought about parking on the other side of that property, more over near the power lines. Apparently, there's been some discussion at the town about building a new fire station over there, and that hasn't been decided. And at this point, who knows if anything like that will even go forward and as things shake out. But anyway, I will send all of you that email again. And this is another, it's kind of a new option in terms of Murray Farm has always been an issue as far as parking, but this is an option that Carlton's raising, and that is of some interest, I think, of putting parking over on the other side. Those of us who made that walk, we got to as far as the power lines, and then that would provide an access way off of, instead of North Street, if you could, because there's a parcel of land there that was donated to the town for recreational use by somebody a number of years ago,
Really?
I guess. And then it was being considered by the fire station, but then there was some issue that the fire chief thought it was too wet. So anyway, it's something we can think about. And I will send that around to all of you just as a reminder. We might maybe talk about it a little more next time. And Carlton may be able to do a little more background. I think he was going to check about the status of the fire station idea. All right, so for our next meeting, which is now June 3rd at 4, why don't we just leave it is if anybody wants to do a site visit, I don't think that's crucial at the moment. I guess it just depends on whether we want to take the time to do it. What do you guys think? Should we kind of add that on every time we can now while the weather's good? Maureen?
What about, oh God, I always forget what it's called. Styles and Hart, is it?
Yep.
Off Bedford Street, where they were going to buy up that land. Is that still on the hold?
Nope, it's bought.
It's bought.
Yeah, they sped up the grant, the land grant application to be finished by fiscal year 20 as opposed to 21.
So that, is there going to be some development done in there for parking or a better trailhead there, or what's going to happen there?
At this point, parking, we took a couple looks out there. I was on a site walk with Kitty Doherty and Monica Bentley. This was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago now. Someone has been utilizing the property as a squatting site. They've also maintained somewhat of a trail throughout the entire area.
Yeah.
So it'll be easy to recapture that trail.
Yeah.
Once we get rid of the squatter, some of our first orders of business, which we'll be talking about on Monday with the trails presentation, is trash pickup, collection of deadwood, trail maintenance of the trail that's existing there now to get that kind of in place. I know that parking is an issue, but it will be nice to get a nice little track out there for people to walk in from, Bedford Street if they park down at the shopping center or whatnot, or at the Portuguese Club and then come over and cross over.
Yeah, there always was a nice trail. Has it grown over?
Well, it had been, but the person who was back there apparently had been maintaining it at least for the passage of one person.
Oh.
So it will take very minor work to get the path widened. It'll take probably, this will be a lot of the work we're doing on Monday to kind of separate and organize out our first group of volunteers. And I plan on trying to get out because we do have a small stream crossing that had been crossed with some sort of bog box, if you're familiar with just the plank system that goes over a stream, very rudimentary. And it had fallen into the water and degraded over time. So I've got a couple contractors in town that are willing to throw together another very rudimentary kind of little bridge that we're going to put over. We're going to start maintenance out there as far as trimming the trail. We're going to start collecting all that deadwood for use elsewhere on the trail. And this is all in coordination with, Nuckatessa Greenway, Bay Circuit Trail, Appalachian Mountain Club. So things out there, yeah, if you want to do a sidewalk out there to see kind of what's going on there now, and that's going to be really our first area of focus moving forward with this new kind of virtual meeting and then getting out into the field. I'd be more than happy to walk it with you.
So Monday, you're starting work on Monday.
Well, we're having a trails presentation. So in a Zoom meeting, Monday, May 18th,
Oh,
from
okay.
3 to 4:30, we're going to outline trail stewardship from the AMC model. The person who's doing the presentation is also the volunteer coordinator for the Bay Circuit Trail, which is part of, which the missing piece is actually in Bridgewater, West Bridgewater connection. So she's going to give that presentation. Me and Kitty are going to be on for another 15 to 20 minutes to answer questions. Most of those questions we think are probably going to regard safety with COVID-19, which we're going to make it very clear that until all state advisories allow us to do so and suggest that we do so, and Michael Dutton and Board of Health agent, we won't be going out there until that clearance is given, but we want to be ready for when that happens. We don't want to be sitting here waiting around. We want to be able to, the second that is okay, because it's an outdoor activity, people are going to be able to distance, it's going to be safe. People are going to, I think this is the time to take advantage of people's whatever free time they have left. And they're going to want to get outside.
Is this quarter still there?
Last I heard, Monica and Kitty had been back out, and they saw that the tent was still there.
Oh,
There was no sign of the person. The first time through, I was with them, and there was physically a person there. So we are working on that. It's a common issue at Styles and Hart while it's not being utilized by the public.
yeah. Okay.
All right, so does it sound like we want to do a Styles and Hart site visit next time, June 3rd? Okay, so we'll, Steve, where should we meet there?
So that's June 3rd, so everything will sort of be open. We parked on the side of the road, right? Do you know where I'm not going to say park there, but the entrance is, there's like a drainage easement that runs down along the river there. So you cross over the river.
No, I mean, are you talking about, the only time I've been in, it was right behind McDonald's there. Is that where, or are you talking about because there's a High Street entrance too, right?
There's a High Street entrance, and then the one that's behind McDonald's was proposed for a bridge that was never constructed.
Nope.
So you'd have to cross the river via waders or swim if you want to go down.
No, you just walk across the road.
Right.
Yeah, so what? Park at the Portuguese Club. So if you park at the Portuguese Club and use the sidewalk on that side of the road, and then you cross over at the dry cleaner,
yes, right.
that path will take you right down and wind, and then you follow. I actually have to repaint the blue splotches on the trees. There's still some remnants of the trail.
We could
So
meet
should we meet?
where
We should meet at the Portuguese Club then, maybe, and all walk together.
Yes.
Okay.
Or not two together. So that's the other thing.
Well, no.
I'm really adhering to distancing and masking and stuff. So I hope everybody will do that. I mean, if everybody's willing to wear a mask, I appreciate it. And if you don't, I'll just stay far away.
I'm thinking about inventing a bubble that we can all just pop right on our heads, and then we can like close the gap for 2 feet, you know.
I hope somebody's working on one of those. It's comfortable and it looks good, right? All right, I think we're done unless somebody has something else they want to bring up. Otherwise, we're going to meet June 3rd at Styles and Hart. Steve, oh no, we're going to meet at the Portuguese. Can we just say meet at the Portuguese Club? Can we put that as public notice? Okay.
What are you going to do if it rains?
Oh, let's go anyway, unless it's a downpour or something.
Okay.
I mean, if it's terrible, we'll cancel, but if it's, doesn't have to be a beautiful day. If it's raining a little bit, it'd be all right, wouldn't it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, ideally we want to go when it's nice and beautiful and sunny and dry and
It's a pretty easy path, even though it
Yeah.
needs a little maintenance.
We don't live in an ideal world, as we've all
It's a great little path, though.
recently aware of, huh?
yeah.
All
We'll get
right,
through it.
so let's, thank you for a good meeting, everybody. I'll get the notice to Katie. Nicole is gonna draft minutes for us.
Yep.
And she's gonna look at the, statement of purpose.
Yep.
And possibly a map of some
Map.
sort, if that's,
Yep.
That's kind of a long term.
Thank you, Nicole.
Sure.
And Maureen is going to just stay in touch with parks people and see what they, Kevin, I don't think have to do any, you're going to get us the minutes from the last meeting out.
Yes, from the last minute meeting.
Okay.
Steve, I had one question, actually. The training on Monday, is that something that we can be included and listen in on, or it's
Oh,
just
sure.
for your staff? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I've sent it.
To be on it.
Yeah, I've sent
you
out the
sent it?
link. Yeah,
Okay. I'll check for it.
I don't know if it went townwide. I put it on the list that for people that had attended the two Parks and Trails things that Kitty put on. And some of the emails were more legible than others, so I've gotten some bounce back, but
Okay.
it should be it's on the town Facebook Community Economic Development page too.
Can I ask Steve, who's going to run it? Kitty, you, or the other people?
So Christine Viola is going to run the first portion,
Yeah.
which is the PowerPoint. And she said that's going to be about, I actually have to review it later. I just got it for 45 to 50 minutes. And then we're going to just do question and answer specific to Styles and Hart, Bridgewater.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Nope. I don't know how to do it.